Yeah.
So I'm Augusta Okafor, the founder of Africa Medical Marketplace. We are revolutionizing healthcare assets in Africa. So can you believe that in the year 2014, just two chemotherapy machines were available in Nigeria? For people that are not in Nigeria, it's important to note that Nigeria is a country with population of over 200 million people. How do I know about the two chemotherapy machines available in Nigeria? My mom was diagnosed of cancer. We have to move her from Enugu to Lagos just for her to get treatment because there were just two chemotherapy machines available. One was in Lagos, the other one was in Kaduna, that's the northern part of the country. In the process of the treatment, the machine kept breaking down. They were asked to pay for some of the things that were not part of the treatment. I remember my mom being in the hospital as early as 4 a.m. just to pick number 220. This is to tell you the number of people that are gathered in the hospital who are not admitted in the hospital. They were sleeping around the hospital just to get access to this therapy treatment. There were times they were asked to wait because the machine broke down and they have to wait until 4 weeks, 6 weeks. For people in the healthcare industry, you understand that radiotherapy treatments are not treatment to be interrupted. They are treatments that are supposed to be followed up immediately to get the results, the output. Unfortunately, that was not the story. My mom passed on, and that was the story of some other people that came for this therapy with her. This brought us to ask questions. How do we address the problem of lack of access to quality healthcare in Africa? How do we address the problem of lack of access to the right biomedical engineers? How do we address the problem of the middle people that make procurement very expensive for hospitals to produce, to afford, to procure? How do we reduce avoidable debt, especially at the bottom pyramid, where people do not have the luxury of traveling out of the country just to have quality and affordable healthcare? We came up with a solution called Africa Medical Marketplace. It's a B2B platform that connects global medical manufacturers, suppliers, and distributors to sell across 54 countries in Africa, leveraging on our digital technology. We also created what we call the after-sales maintenance. Remember, I told you the story of the machine breaking down. We know that in Africa, we have issues of database issues. People don't have access to data. This is more like a job listing platform. The biomedical near us is more like a job listing platform where hospitals who are looking for the right biomedical engineers to fix the right machine, instead of asking people for recommendation that they do not have, you just go there and pick the right person that suits the profile of the equipment you want to fix, and they fix it for you. Then we have what we call the green circular aspect of it, which is donate platform. This is where hospitals at advanced level who have limited timeline to use their machines, instead of discarding them thinking they are not necessary, you list them on our platform, and we have these hospitals at the remote area indicate interest. Upon confirmation, they just have to pick it from point A to point Q, which brings about subsidized healthcare for people at the bottom pyramid, because now these people are not going to pay for cost of procurement. They are going to pay for cost of acquired logistics and maybe fixing one or two things. We've heard stories about people using sticks and drip sticks as hospital bed. This is what our product looks like. We are looking at the serviceable obtainable market of 24.651 billion, which is just 10% of the total accessible market. Our business model is a subscription and commission model. This is our go-to-market strategy. We are leveraging on collaboration, trade shows, data-driven marketing, and so many more we cannot list. For this to have happened, we have a recorded traction of over 300 medical products from over 108 registered sellers across 102 global countries. For this project to have been a success, we have enjoyed partnership with people like German government, Nigeria, MTN Nigeria, International Chambers of Commerce, WIPO, and more other people, United States Trade and Chambers. We are asking for the total sum of $150,000 plus strategic partnership. This will help us with intellectual property protection in other places as we expand across Africa and other things we have listed in this place. We are a team of 7, but on the platform are the 5 lead of the people. Combined together, we have over 80 years of experience put together, from medical supplier to medical students in view to expert developers to.
Okay. Thank you, Augusta. You had to be muted because I think your time was up. I was trying to give you a hint earlier, but thank you. I think that was just your final slide with African Medical Marketplace.
Okay. Hi, Augusta. Good to see you again. Well done.
Hi.
This journey of building, it's not easy. Anyway, straight to my question. I actually have 4 prongs of the question, but maybe I will focus on the one that I feel like is the most important, which is traction slash business model. So one of the things that, you always want to put in front of investors is, what's your traction right now, right? What are you doing in terms of your customers? But in the case of marketplaces, there's always certain things that are key, and that's GMV. So the question is, we see information about how many users have been, onboarded, I mean, providers, suppliers, but what's the transaction level? And is that growing? And so what I mean by GMV is, as you know, grows the level of the products that have been the volume of it, right? And so, do you see the market that you're in? We're talking about medical equipments. Do we have that potential of a gross product, distribution and supply? Or is it going to be fewer equipment? Does this have that potential? And, what do you see right now in terms of your growth? And then, there's something that Jeff Bezos used to say, your margin is my opportunity, which is one thing that makes marketplace work really well is, for you as the platform, you capitalize on their margins, right? If equipments are cheap, you can then top up your own take rate on top of it, right? So if equipments are expensive, so also curious about how are you managing that? And then lastly, curious if the platform is live. I know it's been in the works. So yeah, I'll leave it there. Yeah, for now.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Augusta, if you can do it in 1 minute or maybe 1.5 minutes, quickly.
Okay, thank you. So to answer your question, based on the traction, we started with an MVP, which was a templated website to see how acceptable it will be before we go into full coding. That's where you have customized coding because templated websites have limitations. And that's where we got these versions. Now, currently, like 2 months ago, we went into full coding. We have our front end, back end, UI, UX designers, stack of developers working on this. And over these 2 months, we also registered we also have number of registered sellers leveraging on our platform. And on our platform alone, under these 2 months, we have already registered sales of over 4 million naira. Then speaking of collaboration when it comes to partnership, when it comes to logistics, which are some of the major issues when it comes to this, we've had people reach out to us to collaborate when it comes to warehousing and when it comes to being logistic partners. So part of the things we did currently, we got an invite from DHL, their head office, that is the one in Bonn, Germany, where they are going to take us through some trainings. And after the training, we will look at collaborating together to integrate whatever works or whatever is relatable on our platform. So we are also doing integration of APIs with warehousing when it comes to warehousing and others, because the whole essence of it is to create a seamless transaction, not to kick out medical suppliers, but to create a platform where they can also be visible so that you don't have to refer to 2 or 5 persons before the end user have access to what they need. So I don't know if that answered the whole question you asked, but that's what we have going on.
Okay, I'll yield to the floor because I know others have questions for you. We'll talk.
Thank you.
Dr. Emeka?
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am.
I saw in your slide one of the 3 words like green and circular products, I think. These 2 words caught my attention, and please explain me how you are going to move to green and circular products through this platform.
Is it the Green Circular Program?
Yes, I think I don't remember the exact words, but it was green circular something.
So in Kosovo, one of the programs we had with WIPO, World Intellectual Property, where they invited us under United Nations, they invited us to hear about what we were doing. So in the process, they were touched and moved by what we said. In our own research, when we were doing our M&, research before we started this, we found out that most organizations, there are methods in which equipments are being disposed. Like when you get to the office, you're supposed to use this equipment. Under 2 years, it's being channeled to another thing, another hospital or other things like that. However, all of them don't go. It depends on the condition of these products. So some go and some are tagged to be not good for human use, something like that. But then you find out that United Nations terms and conditions for something that is not conducive for human use is actually a luxury for people at the bottom pyramid. That's the grassroots, people in the remote area, because we have heard history of people using branches and sticks as drip stanch. So this is where we created this platform. Everything happening at that sustainable aspect of it, that's the donate medical equipment, is going to be free of charge. So this hospital, all the hospital has to do, the remote area that are picking these items up, all you have to do is just to pay for the logistics to pick it from point A to point Z. So it's more like, it's our own way of, since we have access to this top profile individuals and organizations, it's our own way of making it easier for them to access affordable healthcare. With that, we reduce the high level of dependence in prayer for healing when we can actually go to the hospital to get treatment. So it's our own giving back to society.
I understand, but I may be wrong. I understood that whatever the leftover of the products are there and they are not in use, and those products are made used by somewhere and sent to the third world where it is needed. Is that what you said?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay, that if that is the case, that is fine, but I really do not agree with that process, because it is something like, philanthropy idea. Like someone would earn a lot of money and then give away some excess money if they have, but do not try to lessen the inequality of between that of earning money and so on. So I do not agree with that idea. But however, I would say that you should expand the idea to really having green and sustainable products in a way that the whole cycle of your products remains sustainable, and the third world, if they need, they get the same product as the others get. I think that's all I wanted to make a comment. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Also remember that this is different from the e-commerce aspect of it, the business. But I got your feedback.
Well, with yes, of course, e-commerce, but when you are doing business and if you want to go a long run, you need to have sustainable supply chain. And my idea of this having green and sustainable is going back to the supply chain.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Mark?
Thanks very much, Bella. Well done, Augusta. Nice to see you now. Well, not in person, but online in person. Just maybe two questions. One, and it seemed to be something with all of the pictures that we were given. Can you hear me properly, Augusta?
I can hear you, sir.
So the information that we got ahead of time, there was lots and lots of words. So I kind of find myself with most of the information that I got up front saying, look, there's lots of words here, but I'm trying to find out exactly, because a lot of you seem to be trying to do everything for everyone. And it was a little bit difficult for me to say, listen, let me home in on exactly what you do. So the pitch that you presented now has been very helpful, because it's done that. What I'd like to hear maybe is just two things. I'd like to hear your elevator pitch in 30 seconds. And And I'd also, picking up on Henry's point, and following on Peter Thiel's work, you know, he says you must own the biggest part of the smallest market. And you and all the other pitches seem to be, we do everything for everyone. We do this and we do this and we do this and we do this and we do this, and we're going to do this and this and this, and our projections are like this, and it's all going to be amazing, you know, hallelujah. But that doesn't seem to be the way life works. Life works with one customer and a replicable sales motion to the next customer and solving a problem for the next one. So I'd like to hear, what is the smallest thing that is working at the moment on a replicable basis? Not gunshot and up and down. So did you get my two questions, Augusta?
Yes. So starting with the last one, the core business or the core service that is currently working is the e-commerce platform, where there is global sales of medical, where global medical manufacturers sell and distributors and suppliers list their medical equipment on our platform to sell across 54 countries in Africa. That's what we are doing.
And so when I say replicable, I mean, is there a consistent revenue line happening there? Is there a link that you guys have discovered between effort that you put into sales and marketing and that coming back into your revenue line, or is it ad hoc? Because tying in what Henry said, from what Henry's saying, people look for traction.
Yes.
So traction is something that is a replicable sales motion. There's something that an investor will see. There's something on an ongoing basis. You're doing something in a very predictable way that leads to a level of revenue. And as it gets more advanced, you know how much sales and marketing effort you put in leads to how much revenue. So yes, you've got the platform and people are listing stuff, but that doesn't mean there's a replicable, predictable sales machine that you've built. You've built a platform, but is there a replicable
okay, yes. Mainly what works now is consumables. We started with Nigeria as a pilot state, and then Ghana, where we promote cross-border trade, because it's not just about global, we want to promote cross-border trade. So what works more now are consumables like couch rolls, gloves, and injections, syringes and others. So consumables are what we have going on now. With time, why we don't have much of big equipment happening now is because we are still trying to integrate the logistics to make it more seamless for them. Because when you talk of heavy equipment, you are talking of big time, you know what logistics is all about. So until we have those properly integrated as we scale, you understand, we talk of that. But currently it's more of consumables.
Okay, good. So just my sort of follow-on point, and to close that before you give me your elevator pitch, you know, the received wisdom, the logic is you go in as narrow as possible and you own that piece of the market. So you go in narrow, you own the market, and then you start broadening. Where everything in your conversation so far was about medical equipment. You didn't tell us we have traction in the consumable side of stuff. That's a massive thing.
Okay.
As a small business coming into something new, to say we are becoming the go-to people for that market, because that's where you develop brand awareness and this and that, and then you start saying, right, now we're going to start adding the other stuff, because any of the entrepreneur gurus will always talk to you about focus. You've got to, you know, you're trying to do so much, but you end up doing nothing because you're trying to do so much. But getting clear and focusing on one thing and making sure you are the leaders in that is then what creates momentum, you know, for whatever you do next. Thank you. That's my time. And maybe, Bello, if we can have it, I'd love to hear your 30-second pitch, your 30-second elevator pitch.
30 seconds, Augusta.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Augusta Okafor, the founder of Africa Medical Marketplace. We are in a simplified form. We are building the Alibaba platform of healthcare in Africa. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks, Bella. I'm done.
Much better.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Augusta. Thank you very much.
You know, I have spoken with Augusta a lot of times, and I see the potential with Africa, you know, marketplace, medical marketplace. And part of the things that is still you know, big question, you know, in my mind in terms of like from an investor perspective is, you know, what is the pain point here? Yes, you know, we need access to healthcare. You know, but from that business perspective, like what is the pain point to your supply and demand? So if you're just doing a B2B sort of, you're dealing with suppliers, or you're dealing with hospitals, your business with their business, right? So you're dealing with them only, right? But if it's a marketplace, then you're dealing with supply and demand. So you got to ask that question from the supply side. What is your pain point? Like, what am I helping you solve? And then you're going to ask the demand side, what is your pain point? What am I helping you solve? So finding that match is really important for what is a pain point for the supply side, right? So why would manufacturers, why should they sell to this market? You know, did they see potential in selling to this market? You know, because you can be looking from it from the other side of demand. Yes, we need equipment in Africa because there's lack of access to healthcare. But like, yes, there's definitely that demand, you know, but you also have to equate it with the value that supply side sees. So, you know, so my recommendation is to, you know, continue to irriterate and figure out like what is that pain point that works for both sides that proves that that business could work. And my suggestion is maybe it is cost. You know, maybe from the suppliers, you're helping them to save cost. Maybe they have equipment that's used already and it could just sit there and they don't make anything out of it. But you are now giving them an opportunity to sell it to a market that needs it urgently. So for that supply side, that becomes a very attractive opportunity. You know, I want to sell my used, you know, equipment. So I want to sell my used, you know, in the US, there's so many hospitals that are out there that have equipment that just go to waste. So maybe there's an opportunity there to tap into that. And that supply side sees that, and they're all going to sign up because you're giving them an opportunity to sell something that could have gone to waste. And then the demand side, yes, Africans need that product, you know, but, you know, and hospitals here, they need it. But how do you get to them faster? You know, maybe faster way is to say, you know, we have this equipment that's really subsidized, right? And that gives you an opportunity also as a platform to become that, as just Jeff Bezos would say, margin, your margin is my opportunity. So if there's a cheap margin there, then it's my opportunity for me being the platform to be able to get volume happening, right? And so that's one of the things that, you know, Augusta, we're going to talk more, but those are some of the feedback that I had about what you're building. And maybe it's not about selling used, you know, equipment. Maybe it's still what you're doing, or maybe it's about plugging, you know, pay later option there, such that, you know, you're making it making it easy for hospitals here to pay. You know, maybe they might not be able to pay upfront, but you have a fintech kind of play into it where, you know, there is a financing that happens that allows you to finance the supply of the product, right? And that becomes like your unique value proposition, right? So I think with my African, medical marketplace, we're still in that place where we're trying to figure it out. What's that? So that's feedback on that one.
Thanks, Bello. Thanks, Henry. You saw we had to take an extra 10 minutes, everybody, because, you know, everyone had something substantial that they were bringing to the table. The world of entrepreneurship is not easy, and in times like this is kind of where it shows up, because, you know, we had to come up with a ranking, and that wasn't easy. Maybe just as an overall thing, because as I'm going to talk through the companies, I'm going to say focus, 3 times for 3 of the businesses. But maybe the story of, you know, Amazon's journey is worth keeping in mind. As much as you've got a big vision, Amazon started with books. Well, the point I'm making is that the product level and the machine that's getting built underneath it. And it came up with, a number of you guys is, hang on, just where is your thinking in terms of the product that's happening, which is the surface thing, medical equipment, diagnostic, education, but you're building a delivery machine underneath that. And as an entrepreneur, you got to be able to jump between both of those worlds, because the machine that you're building is your growth path. That's the thing that's going to be able to propel you. So Amazon's thing is they started with books, but he was building a machine underneath that. Then what did he do? He did everything, CDs, everything. You go everything, because he was building distribution centers and the ability to deliver. Then what he said, oh, actually, we're a fulfillment service, because he took other people's products and pushed them through his machine. So Amazon's a fulfillment machine. They're not they used to maybe do books and then they did everything, but they're just a fulfillment engine. And then what did he say? Oh, well, then they started AWS, because he listened that the ton of tech that we've got that underpins this all. Well, why don't we start renting our tech out? But they didn't start with AWS. I don't know the story of Jeff, so I don't know how far along the track he knew he was going. But that's a really important thing. You're doing medical equipment, but what is the machine that you're actually building, which is what Henry was saying, and what could you or should you be pushing through it? Are you going to dominate in that one niche of consumables of medical equipment? The other one, just as a general point, it's always worth going to Peter Thiel's 7 questions. If you're not familiar with it, in his book 0 to 1, Peter Thiel unpacks his 7 questions, engineering question, the this, the that, which look, if you go and do incubator stuff, they kind of cover it, but he puts it in a very nice way. So then, in order that we went through Africa marketplace, so number one is focus, is like, where you're going to dominate. What is the one thing that you're going to become the boss of? And are you aware of what the machine is that you're building, per what Henry's saying? But you've got to dominate in something. You've got to niche down as much as listen, this is the machine we're building. You've got to niche down and say, listen, this is the thing we're going to fix. Maybe you're just a disintermediator at the moment, but that will wash out eventually. So how are you going to establish market dominance through disintermediating? And you could be disintermediating anything. Anything that's coming from, let's say, the developed world into the developing world. You're a supply chain, entity maybe, but that's, maybe that's the piece you're fixing.
Africa Medical Marketplace. She got the Viewers' Choice Award.
Woo!
as voted by, that's Augusta, as voted by the audience. So for Augusta, all the other packages that they said is coming complementary to the financial reward that the others will get. You're all going to have it. So no financial on this one, but in second position, we have Africa Medical Marketplace, led by Augusta. Well done.
Okay, thank you everyone for the feedback. Entrepreneurship is a journey that you keep iterating and until you get what people want, because it ends up is always about what do the people want, making sure that it's fit for the market. So it's good to hear different perspectives from different angles, and we are taking the feedback seriously, going back to remodel our work. Thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for making it possible for us to gain the grants to keep developing what we are building. Thank you.